Hello, Anson Garcia here, and I will be talking a little bit about Cisco Instant Messaging and Presence Federation with Skype for Business Online. Now, this is specifically about direct federation using Expressway or Cisco Expressway. This is what I'm calling an L100 chat, so it's not very technical. I won't be going over configurations or things like that. I'll save that for another video. So let's get started. What is it? So Federation or IMP Federation is basically the ability for one instant messaging system to talk to another instant messaging system. Basically, that's what it is. You typically hear of kind of two types or two flavors of this. You'll hear the term intranet, so this guy right here, and you'll also hear the term internet federation. So intranet is within the company. So intranet federation, and this is usually, you hear this term when, let's say, a large bank or just a bank running Cisco Jabber, let's say for the IMP system, and they purchase a smaller bank, and that smaller bank uses Office 365, Skype for Business Online, and that bank needs to integrate, or those two banks need to integrate, and they need to be able to discuss things and have real-time communication and things like that. Usually, instead of moving everybody from one platform to another, because that's a heavy lift, you want to integrate these two. You want to do what's called intranet federation. You want the Skype for Business Online clients and those folks that are using Skype for Business Online, instant messaging, to be able to talk to the other bank's workforce of using Jabber, Cisco Jabber instant messaging. So you kind of glue those together, and there's some things that we do in the systems in the background to make these two talk one another, or to make one person be able to talk to another person, one person on Skype and one person on Jabber, and them communicate with each other. Then there is the term Internet Federation. This is kind of the same concept, but this is a different domain, a different company across the internet. So this is when, one system needs to talk to another system. Now, these two systems may be similar or the same, like let's say Cisco or Cisco UC talking to another Cisco UC system via IMP, or it could be two different types of systems, like in the case I gave you before with the intranet, where one's Skype for Business and one's Cisco. So those are the two terms to be familiar with. And what we're discussing in this chat is the Internet Federation flavor of this, because we're talking about across the internet from Skype for Business Online and Cisco UC, specifically Verizon's Cisco UC or HCS UC, or what we call Verizon UCAS. So I covered all these points. Let's go on. Why is this important? Well, when selling UCAS or HCS, we need to help our customers deploy, quicker, more efficient communications within their workforce, right inside their company, and most certainly outside of their four walls, outside of their company, to drive better business outcomes for our customers. So we're very interested in that, and we're very interested in streamlining communications. Now, it's definitely in larger companies, definitely subject matter experts are sometimes more prone to be outside the company. So they're coming from contractors, advisors, things like that, that are outside of their four walls, outside the confines of their business IMP system that's internal. So hence this drives the Internet Federation value. So what are others doing? Specifically, what is Microsoft doing? Because they've really led the charge, and they have a lot of things here. I won't go into much detail on all of them, but I want you to be aware of them. Okay, so let's take the first one for example. Microsoft Office, Skype for Business Online, and I'm going to use that term interchangeably. I'm just going to say Skype for Business Online. Skype for Business Online is part of Office 365. So Skype for Business Online makes it easy to federate with other Skype for Business Online users. So if you're one company, Company A, using Skype for Business Online, and Company B uses Skype for Business Online, very easy for those two, the administrator of those two systems, or the management company taking care of those two systems. And all they need to do is go in and turn some switches on and make sure Company A can talk to Company B, and Company B needs to make sure that Company B can talk to Company A. So both administrators, both companies need to make sure that they can talk with each other, or allow, I should say, allow the workforce to talk with the other workforce. Okay, and Skype for Business Online can also federate with the Skype consumer platform, and that's big. This came out a few years ago. Again, this is made very simple by an on-off switch inside Skype for Business Online settings. So, in other words, if you have, let's say, the Gen Xers and millennials and things like that, they're very Skype for Business oriented, or excuse me, Skype consumer oriented. They've been texting their friends, they've been doing voice video calls and things like that, so they're very familiar with that platform. That platform can integrate or federate with the Skype for Business Online platform. So if you had a Skype consumer account and you had that, let's say, on your phone or your desktop, you can most certainly very easily talk to a Skype for Business Online business user inside a company that's using that platform, that technology, with no problems at all. In fact, very, very easy. So let's talk about Skype for Business Server. So this is the on-prem version. Whenever you hear Microsoft Business Server, this is the on-prem version, the enterprise on-prem version. This can federate to Skype consumer users as well. So this came out in 2015, Server 2015, or Skype for Business Server 2015, and it also has some other capabilities, the ability to search for Skype consumer users, and you can search by display name, by their email address, by their Skype name. There's this concept of having a Skype name inside the Skype consumer platform, or if they have a DN number, there's this, you can put on your Skype consumer account, you can purchase a DID number, what we in the telephony world call a DID number, direct inward dial, and it's just basically a number, right? E164 number. We've covered that, and Microsoft claims it's working on an federation between Skype for Business Online users and Teams, and this is big. Now, I haven't seen any definitive dates or anything like that, but this is important to keep in your knowledge base when you're speaking with anybody about federation or things like that. So what is this? This will basically be a one-to-one chat session. So inside, if you're not familiar with Microsoft Teams, they have a concept called Teams and then a concept called channels, very much like Slack, Teams and channels. And then if you're a Cisco guy, it's Teams and spaces, right? But basically, the Skype consumer will be able to, Skype for Business Online will be able to have a one-to-one chat. So let's say company A they went all to Teams. They use Microsoft Teams as their business messaging client, and they've kind of done away with instant messaging, and they don't use Skype for Business Online anymore. So, and then there's another business out there, they haven't embraced Teams, they don't do any business messaging, or maybe they use Slack or something like that. But they do use Skype for Business Online for their instant messaging platform. Those two companies can talk to each other. How does that look? Well, that looks like on the Microsoft Teams side, you'll be able to one-to-one chat a Skype for Business Online user. Similarly, on the Skype for Business Online side, you'll be able to put in a contact with the user's email address and contact that particular Microsoft Teams person in their Teams platform, their Teams application. Okay, so this has nothing to do with inviting Skype for Business online users into channels or anything like that. It's just a one-to-one chat session. Okay, so that's, again, it's not out yet. That's just the word in the blogosphere, and also Microsoft has come out with a couple of announcements on that. So what are other things you can do to inter-federate Skype for Business Online and Cisco UCaaS, or any HCS platform, or any on-prem Cisco platform? Well, the only thing that's been available out there is Nextplane. So Nextplane can federate with these two IMP systems. They kind of connect in the cloud. I'll have another talk about them and how they, all the technical minutia on how they connect. Nextplane can connect these two systems together. All right. The approach that they use is a little more evasive for the partner. In other words, for the non-Cisco, when I say partner, that's a non-Cisco entity. Somebody using the Skype for Business online platform is not just going to go in and say, yes, I want to speak with company B, or my workforce is allowed to instant message company B. There's a little bit more than that. There's some DNS stuff, there's some certificate stuff, there's some other things on there. So, and again, I'll go over that in another talk. So the approach, okay, I think we've covered one, we've covered two. Number three, the approach is more expensive for the company who initiates the federation. So if you're a Cisco company, it's got Cisco IM or Cisco UC, and you need to federate with Skype for Business Online, you have to purchase Nextplane, you have to purchase subscriptions, and obviously that's going to drive up cost. It's going to drive up also number four, complexity, because you have something in the middle and that's translating these protocols to be able to interoperate with each other. And this approach, also number five, this approach does have some benefits, and hopefully I can share those in another talk. I will point one of them out at the end of this talk if I remember. So let's take a look at a simple use case. Basically here on the left here we have an airline GPS manufacturer, and looks like they're running Skype for Business Online. We also have on the left, that's on the left. On the right we have a Jack Sparrow over here, and I did have a name over here. There we go. We have Anson Garcia over there. We have Jack Sparrow over here on the right, and they're running some type of HCS system, right? Hopefully they're using Verizon's UCaaS. Okay, in this instance, or this use case, we have an airline flight navigational tech out here. Maybe he's out on the floor. Maybe he's checking a particular GPS unit, and there are new GPS navigational units, and he needs a subject matter expert, or needs to reach out to a subject matter expert out there. Now, this airline manufacturer over here, or GPS manufacturer, just so happens they're using Skype for Business, and he needs to interoperate. He needs to talk to this guy over here real time. So maybe he's on his mobile phone, or Jack Sparrow's on his mobile phone. He's in checking this GPS, and he needs some advice or some technical expertise right away. So this is what this real-time communication looks like across using inter-federation or inter-domain federation. Again, this guy's on Jabber over here, Cisco infrastructure. This guy's on Skype for Business infrastructure, right? And then I have these two plugged in over here just because they're using Office 365 Online. And of course, this person over here is using, hopefully, UCaaS. But those two people now, with this technology, can speak to each other. Now I'm going to draw a line here, and we're just going to say these two guys are instant messaging one another, and you can see looks like Jack Sparrow asks a question, what's the new testing procedures, and we get Anson Garcia. He gets that text over here, instant message. He responds to go to a particular page, and then that response comes on over here. And this could all be done again on the mobile phone inside the actual aircraft itself while performing these tests. So hopefully that's clear to you on that use case. let's go on. Let's do a couple of demos and see what this looks like. All right, we're going to put that away, and we're going to get our demo system over here. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to start on the HCS side, the UCAS side, the Cisco side. All right, and we have Jack Sparrow. Remember, in our use case, we have Jack Sparrow over here, and we also have Anson Garcia over here. Let me close that. We have Anson Garcia over here, and he's the manufacturer side. So Jack Sparrow is wanting to add Anson Garcia, so we're going to add a contact first. You can see I already have the contact added here, but I'm going to show you how to add them. There's something important here that you should know. Go to File, New in your Jabber client, and you do a contact. Okay, you do not do a custom contact. I've made that mistake a few times, but custom contacts are for contacts that do not have instant messaging. They're more for contacts that are possibly just have numbers or URIs or something like that that you want to call. So you would do a contact. If you do a custom contact, this particular integration or Internet Federation will not. You'll have some. It will work, but you'll have some presence problems. Basically, that's what happens. So we would add a contact, and then we just type the contact. In my case, it's AnsonG@AnsonGarcia.net, and I would add that contact. I won't add them again because I already have added them, and you can put them in any one of groups that you have here, and you can add a new group as well. So what does that look like on the Skype side? On the Skype for Business online side, you can also add from there. So you would add, now here's a little bit different, you'd add a contact not in my organization, and that is not a Skype for Business. Remember, I told you about you can have people that aren't in your organization that are part of another Skype for Business organization or the Skype consumer. So this is the little icon for Skype consumer. This is the little icon for Skype for Business online or Skype for Business server. But it is neither one of those, so we do other, and then in other we type in the address. In our case, it's Jack Sparrow, right? J Sparrow is his email address, or his IM address at vzbdemo.net. And you can add him into a group very similar to the other instant messaging client by Cisco, and then you can also set some privacy relationships here as well. I won't add him because he's already been added down here. So that's how you do those two things. Let's send an instant message. So in our use case, we said Jack Sparrow needed to reach out to Anson Garcia, and so we'll go ahead and click chat there, and we'll say hello to Anson. All right, and we'll go over here to Anson, and we see that we get something from Jack Sparrow. I can click on that, and we can say hi back. And then we have this two-way conversation going on where Jack can ask questions, and Anson Garcia, as the subject matter expert, can respond to those questions. Of course, and important to note, they're in two different systems. Neither one of them know what the other guy is using. So Jack has no indication that Anson G here is using Skype for Business, Skype for Business Online, or whatever. And similarly, Anson doesn't know what Jack Sparrow is using. So that's important to note. It's very it's transparent, and they get to speak to each other in their native clients. Okay, let's change a status. So let's close that, let's close this, and let's just change the status here and make sure that that's all working well. So let's go to, let's say Jack still needs to contact Anson, but Anson is maybe busy at the time. Okay, so he puts himself busy. Let's go back to Jack. Now Jack is going to see that Anson's busy, so that we have that two-way presence going on between the two systems across the internet, and so he can chat with him, and maybe he's going to ask something different, can I disturb you, or something like that. And then Anson can go ahead and respond appropriately, no, 5 minutes from now, or something like that. All right, so let's escalate this into some web collaboration. So let's say Jack needs a little bit more. He needs to be shown this particular page that Anson's talking about, and maybe they have some documentation or some drawings that they need to review, and maybe an audio video session at the same time. So maybe Jack really needs to show Anson exactly what he's seeing in the cockpit when he's testing this GPS, and wants to show that on his mobile phone. Of course, we're using a desktop, but this would work on a mobile phone as well. So what does he do? He's got Verizon UCaaS, and he can very easily just go ahead and click the Meet Now button, and then what happens is we're getting this advanced meetings WebEx infrastructure up in the background here that's going to start a meeting, and then we can choose to enable our audio or video or callback or things like that. I won't do that here for this demonstration since we're on virtual machines, but let's go over to Anson and see what he sees here, and it looks like Anson gets a URL. He can just click that URL, and he's going to go right into that, or launch a web browser that will take him into that meeting as well. Okay, now he's brought right into that meeting. Now pay no attention to the name here. I'm using an account that doesn't belong to Jack, so this would obviously be Jack's account. I'm using Anson's account on this because I didn't have another one available, but it would all work the same way, obviously, but it just wouldn't say Anson here. Okay, looks like I'm in the kind of the lobby area, and then we can go see Jack here. He sees that Anson G is waiting in the lobby here, and he can go ahead and admit him in. They will both be joined into the meeting, and obviously if you know WebEx, you can start your audio connection either over PC or mobile phone or iPad or traditional telephony, and you can start your video obviously, and you can start your screen share. So this way there's two-way communication, not only instant messaging, but we've escalated this communication using Verizon's UCaaS to a full-fledged web collaboration and voice video collaboration as well. Okay, we're going to go over this minor diagram, or this minor technical diagram, and I just want you to know and understand from a level 100 standpoint anyway what's going on in the background. So here we have kind of what we're doing here. So we have a Skype for Business entity on the left here, and we have hopefully Verizon's UCaaS, great platform by the way, on the right over here. Now what's happened with the 8.10 release of Expressway, which sits at the edge right here, is that particular entity now can speak two languages. Now if you know anything technically about IMP, you know that the Office 365 platform speaks the language SIP Simple for IMP, and traditionally Cisco speaks the language XMPP. Just two competing protocols that both carry instant messaging and presence and notify. And now the Cisco platform can now speak SIP Simple. In other words, it can have a conversation directly with no translation in the middle to the Office 365 platform. So that's what's going on in the background. We actually have these two going on. What we showed really was just this SIP Simple, integration, and that was the intranet federation piece. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. Now, just in closing here, I want to just make sure you know what versions are being demonstrated, or what versions we have in the background that's making all this work. And we have, now I'd like to tell you what versions are actually running in the background real quick. So we have CUCM 11.5, we have Cisco IMP service 11.5, and this is the important one, we have Expressway 8.10.1. Okay, and on the Microsoft side, we're running Microsoft Skype for Business E5 licenses as part of the Office 365 platform. And the Skype for Business client that we were showing you is the 2016 client, and it's version 16.0.8. All right, in closing, I just want to give you a few caveats so you understand what doesn't work. We saw what worked, now what doesn't work. Well, we have no group chat. XMPP and SIP do things very differently as far as group chat. So there's no group chat today. I'm not sure if that will ever be supported, but no group chat today. No audio video, right? In this simple inter-federation scenario, we don't have audio and video. Now, are there other entities or other platforms or other software that we can put in this implementation from a Verizon standpoint to make audio and video work? Absolutely. So you just need some additional components, but they were beyond the scope of this particular talk. But I just wanted to make sure that you don't think this can't be done. And then the no file transfers. Okay, so this is another thing that SIP and XMPP do very differently. And remember when I talked about the different entities over here. Yeah, let me go back to this one. This is going to kind of drive it home for you. So this right here, you might be asking yourself, why am I talking about SIP and XMPP being different, where I just told you that now on the edge over here, this guy does SIP simple, so that's native, right, to Office 365. It does do SIP simple, and this guy does SIP simple too, but the platform inside, so the clients themselves are still on this side doing XMPP. Obviously the clients on this side are doing native SIP simple. Okay, and what I'm saying is this client right here is doing SIP simple. This client right here is doing XMPP. Yes, we do have this translator that's can be installed and configured and on the Cisco side, but the ways to do certain things like group chat and file transfers are very different in this world as they are in this world. So those are too far away for this translation to happen. I guess that's the only way I can explain it. But so that's why things don't work, or some things don't work, and they might be minor things to some. It may be major things to some other customers. A lot of times, I just put this in here, a lot of times no file transfers, usually customers implement no file transfers anyway on any intra domain because they don't want anything inside to get outside unless they're somehow are able to parse that and look at it and things like that. In email that's very robust. It's got a long tenure in the enterprise, and if you send any documents via email to people outside the company, that can be recorded. It can be scrubbed, and there's things like that. There's a lot of security around that. In file transfers with IMP, that's a little bit less wanted, you know, and there's less ability to see those things in the nature of how these systems work. Hopefully this has been informative and you learned a little bit about inter-domain federation between a Cisco UC system or Verizon's UCaaS and Skype for Business Online.